Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a poinsettia flower with acrylic paints. It'll be step by step. I'll show you how to draw it and how to paint it all the way through. I've got my husband, Mark, with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's going to be man in chat for us during the live show, so let's get started. Okay, here's my little example. I did it on a 4x4 inch canvas. It's got a nice clean back. I like the ones that are splined and not stapled, but whatever you can find will work good. And I used a little eye hook and just screwed that into the top of the canvas so that I made it into an ornament. And these are really perfect size for Christmas ornaments. They're not too big, not too small. So I've got a little bit larger one. These ones you can kind of set up. Probably won't use this as a ornament, but I'm going to paint on this one a little bit today. And I prepped it with a coat of Gold Iridescent Fine by Golden, but really any color that you want in the background is great. I started out with white on mine and it looked good with white. I just kind of decided to add the gold in afterwards. But on this one, I decided to go ahead and just paint the whole background first, save us some time. So let's go over our palette really quick. I've got quinacridone magenta, Naphthol Crimson, cadmium red medium, cadmium red light, cadmium yellow medium, yellow oxide, phthalo green yellow shade, phthalo blue green shade, and dioxazine purple. This is unbleached titanium and titanium white. Really any combination of reds. You just kind of want some purpley reds and a little bit more warmer reds to work with, but you don't have to have these exact colors. Just kind of use whatever you've got. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to draw it using my Tombow marker. I'm hoping it'll show up a little bit better. It's a watercolor marker. And so the first thing I did with the poinsettia is kind of figure out where I wanted the center of the flower to go. And I just kind of did some random circles, sort of all bunched together for the cluster that's kind of in the center there. And then from there, I'm going to do my petals. I'll start out with this one, and they're this kind of teardrop shape, sort of, like that. And I'll do another one over here. Just kind of wanting to fill in smaller ones at first, all the way around, and then we're going to kind of go in between. So there's one there in between. We'll put in one here, and you can use a reference image. I found one off a royalty-free website that I kind of used, sort of. I changed it up a little bit. Don't worry about that. That'll get covered. And then, let's see, this one's here. Like that. And then one to finish it right here. And then the last thing I did was just kind of added some leaves. Might make this one a little bit more off to the side. And just kind of did a few leaves in here. And they're basically the same shape as the petals. So they're just green. So you draw them in about the same way, like that. And just try to remember which ones are supposed to be the leaves. You could use a different marker if you wanted to.
Or Markel.
Yeah. Or you could use chalk or a watercolor pencil. I had kind of originally drawn it in watercolor pencil there, but chalk works great too. Just doesn't show up well on the camera. So, all right, I'm going to start out with a 1/4 inch angle brush here, and we're just going to get cooking here. Work pretty fast today. I'm going to grab some quinacridone magenta and some phthalo green. Make a dark green. I might even add a little purple to that. Make it nice and dark. I'm going to go in here kind of in between in this dark area behind my berries and go ahead and fill in with this color. Don't worry about your berries. They'll get put back in later. But we want to add some nice dark color to the center of our flower here, so that when we put our red petals on top, it really pops. Okay. I'm going to grab a little bit more green, and I'm going to use this to go in between and fill in our leaves too. Working on these small canvases is fun, but you do have to have kind of smaller brushes for them, so you'll have to kind of size down your brushes so that you can fit into these tighter spaces. And I get questions about that a lot, like people asking, I'm going to be doing this on a bigger canvas or a smaller canvas. And really it just, the techniques are the same for the most part. It's just the size of the brush changes. So you just kind of have to do the same kind of techniques, but just use smaller brushes or bigger brushes, whatever the case is. I find on larger canvases that about a 2-inch to 3-inch brush for the backgrounds, and then I switch to about a 1-inch for most of the details. I can usually get, I've even done murals with a 1-inch brush, so.
You did a mural with a 1-inch brush.
Yeah, I did several murals
Wow.
with a brush this size. It's actually, I think, even smaller than a 1-inch. Of course, after the mural was done, they get worn down to a nub. But
Chiseling your way out of prison.
yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay, so let me make sure where I'm at here. See, I already figured out which ones are which. Should have.
You need to number them or something, paint by numbers.
I don't know. I probably do. I'm just going to try not to put my hand in the paint because it's right here close to my wrist this time. I don't know why I put them all on this side of the palette today, because that's just asking for me to put my hand in it. Okay, let's see. I think we're here. Okay, there we go. I'm back. I figured out where I'm at now. Just need to not turn it around. That's what happens. Maybe make myself a little arrow up. Yep. How's chat doing today?
That's going pretty good. There are a bunch of people coming in,
Got all
saying
our
hi.
usual suspects.
All the unusual suspects.
Nice. Welcome, everybody who's joining us. We really appreciate you watching with us today. And if you're new to our channel, we hope that you'll subscribe if you enjoy it. And give it a thumbs up as well. Leave a comment, all that good stuff. And if you are not inclined to draw this yourself, I do have traceables available on my Patreon page. They're $1 a month for all the traceables that I do and have done since February of this year. So it's a pretty good deal. I add about 8 new ones a month, depending on how many new tutorials we do. And it helps us keep the lights on at the same time. Gives us a way to say thank you for supporting our channel, and keeps us working in paint and all that good stuff.
Yeah, like you said, the lights and the internet bill and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. So there's our first coat. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the petals of the flowers. Add some color to those, and I'm going to kind of do the centers with sort of a purpley red. So add a little quinacridone magenta in the purple and sort of start out with that. And then we'll add some of the other colors on top. This will just give us our first coat. I'm always telling folks, especially if you're new to painting, acrylic paintings especially, when we're doing this many layers, there's definitely stages that we go through, and the paintings get ugly before they get pretty. There's an ugly stage that they all go through, and so you just kind of have to know that going into it, that okay, it's going to look really bad at some point, and you're just going to have to sort of trust that it's going to get better. So I'll work you through this, but at this point we're working with a hot mess here, and that is completely normal. All part of the process. So don't panic yet. We'll get you there.
We have a question.
Yes.
Nichelle would like to know, do you recommend doing a practice of the painting before going to a canvas?
You can, yeah. If you're, especially, if there's some techniques here that you're not comfortable with. The thing with working on paper is I usually work on paper when I'm trying to work out my compositions and things, or try new techniques, and or kind of mixing colors, trying to see what's what. But as far as blending and things, it's a lot different working on a canvas than it is on paper. So it might not help all that much if you're, depending on what you're working on, what your goals are for working on the paper. But yeah, I definitely am all for practicing. You just know that if you're working on your, on your mixed media paper, like I do my example paintings, you will want to add a lot of water to your brush when you're working, because it'll soak all the moisture out of your brush. So you just work with a little bit more wet paint. Super chat.
We have a super chat from Joanna.
Thank you, Joanna. Very kind. Appreciate your donation.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'm going with Naphthol red now, and I'm going over from the tip down.
And we have another question when you're ready also.
Okay.
Mary wants to know, when somebody's starting out painting, what do you recommend a certain brand of acrylic paint? Said that they had purchased a large amount of basic brand paints.
Yeah.
But not sure if it's a good quality or not.
Like Liquitex Basics?
Didn't say, just said basic brand from Joann's.
Okay. Oh, from Joann's. I don't know. I usually have my students buy the Liquitex Basics set that's in the description. The video down below, I kind of have a link to it. It's like a 48 count. There's also a 36 and a 24 count. Really, any of those will work. They all just have kind of different colors. But the nice thing about the beginner sets is that they have small quantities of paint. When you're buying the more professional bottles, or the like even the student bottles, sometimes they're huge and you're not going to need that much. So that comes in just like smaller quantities, so you can kind of try out each color, and then as you run out, you can buy the bigger bottles if you know you're going to need them. But I find that the Liquitex Basics is my favorite student brand of paint. Just seems to be closer, better than most other brands that I've found. But I work with the heavy body acrylics here when I'm doing these tutorials. So actually there's a video that I did recently called Blending with Different Kinds of Acrylics that shows you kind of the differences and sort of talks about you know, the things that you might have to look out for when you're using different kinds of paint, like craft paint or student quality paints. So you might check that out too. It might help a little bit. Just kind of going over all of this with this Naphthol Crimson. And really the Naphthol Crimson is very similar to like if you mix quinacridone magenta and the cadmium red light. I'm just using it because it's pre-mixed and I had it. So, but if you don't have this color, you can kind of mix it with just quinacridone magenta and some cadmium red light. We'll get you something close, or cadmium red medium, I mean. Get you something similar. It's just kind of a more cherry red, a little bit brighter. The cadmium red medium is a little bit more on the orange side, a little warmer. So. Okay, so we've got all of that filled in there. And on some of these, I'm just going to kind of pull a stem that sort of goes down into the middle, just a few of them. There. Okay. All right, I think our green might be dry enough yet. Let's clean that brush out, and I might end up doing most of this with this brush. We'll see. It's working out so far, so we'll keep going with it until we need to switch for some reason. So let's add some highlights to our leaves, and the poinsettias are very bright, Christmassy green. It's very kind of deep green in the centers, and then it kind of goes to like a really bright, vivid lime green on the tips. So grab a little bit of white, a little bit of cad yellow medium, and my green there, and I'm going to pull in some stems, or some, what is this, veins. There we go. And I'm just using the edge of my brush, pushed it to a nice fine line so that I've got a crisp edge there. I put my hand in it, darn it. I knew I was going to do that. I must have done it down here too, I didn't realize. No making fun of the artist. It's not funny.
It is that.
It's not funny.
Certain charm.
If you say so. All right, and then I'm going to put in some side veins too, kind of angling up like this. You can switch to a liner brush if this is easier for you with the liner brush, so just whatever brush suits you. Add a little water to it if you're going to be using a liner brush, because you'll need it a little bit more fluid in your brush. There we go. And they're kind of curving it a little bit upward towards the tip, so it's kind of coming out and curving up a little bit. Really, all the leaves are going to be a little bit different, but they have similar structure.
So for everybody who's joining in late, this is just a normal 12 by 12 canvas, and Angela's hands are just giant today.
Yes. little 4x4. I find the 4x4 is about the perfect size for a Christmas ornament size. Any bigger than that, and they just get too heavy to hang on the tree. You weigh it down. Okay, let me see. There we go. This is the direction I'm looking for. All right, let me grab a little bit more yellow. And I'm going to kind of do in some highlighting, tapping in from the outside edge in toward the middle, leaving a little bit of dark space around that vein. You can kind of pick one side and leave a dark side on one side, and like that. Can you see? So we're not fully filling it in, we're just kind of tapping with the tip of the brush to kind of create some little suggestion of highlight on there. And I'm leaving it fairly dark in these dark areas. Do the same thing on all the leaves. And don't worry if you get too bright on any of them, we can always go back in and darken it up later. So can add more shadows in there. Kind of did my example one a little bit differently than this, but I think this is an easier way of doing it. So we're switched over to a different technique here. I fussed with my example one a little bit longer than I wanted to, so I think this will give us a similar result. With the example one, I pulled from the outside in and kind of lifted, but I think this gives us a little bit more control just by kind of doing these little smaller brush strokes. Plus, it kind of makes the leaves look ruffled. These poinsettia leaves are, the petals and leaves are very kind of folded in on themselves and wavy. So kind of doing it this way, I think, gives it that effect too. Okay, yeah, I like that. It's working. And I think I'm going to go back in with some even brighter white. Mix that with what's on my brush. There we go. Brighten up some of these one more time. You don't have to do all of them, but just a few. A little brighter. Marks. There we go. Actually, I think I will switch to a liner brush. Whoops, I just threw it. Switch to a liner brush, see if I can get a little bit better control here. Just add a little extra water to my brush so that I've got more fluid. There we go. And I'll add a little bit of this really bright color to our highlights on our leaves too, so it doesn't look like it's so out of place, because right now it kind of looks very disconnected from the leaf. So we want to kind of merge those two colors together, excuse me. Okay, so we'll grab that color, maybe add a little bit more yellow to it even. Really bright color, and we'll be a little bit more selective with it this time and just kind of not do quite as far down on the leaf, but we're going to add a little bit more of this again. Just tapping. And really anywhere you want it to kind of look like it's folded upward. You know, we could do a little bit more toward the center if we wanted that to raise up that center a little bit, make it look like, we'll do it on this one. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. We'll raise that center part up there and there. It'll make like that part of the leaf is bent upwards towards us a little bit more. See, it curves it down that way. Putting the highlights on the outside curves it so that the leaf look like it's cupped this way, and then putting the highlight in the center makes it look like the leaf is cupped this way. So wherever the highlight part is going to be the part that's your eye is going to read as closer to you generally, or closer to the light source at least, which is usually above. So kind of good rule of thumb. Okay, so that's good. I think we'll maybe add a little bit of shadows to our leaf once that dries, but it'll give us a good base. And I think I'll go ahead and kind of put in our center of our flowers, buds too. The little round berries that are in the center. It'll give us kind of a reference for the rest of our petals too. So we'll go ahead and put some of those in. Mixed up kind of a medium green here. We're going to cluster them right up next to each other. Maybe leave just a tiny bit of that purple showing through, but there we go. That's good. It's so windy out today. Some wind blowing.
Yeah, and I raked a lot of the leaf last week too.
Oh yeah, it's just going to blow right back into the yard, huh?
Exactly.
Were you?
Oh well.
Good thing you did that.
And I was so proud of myself too.
Okay, there we go. So now for the fun part. These leaves are pretty dry, so we'll start putting in some of our details on our flowers. Petals. So I'm going to grab that purple and a little bit more of the quinacridone magenta. We'll use this as our center vein color. And just like we did with the leaves, we're going to put the vein in first. That'll give us kind of a reference for where we want to put our details in on our petals. So kind of know sort of what direction. And I kind of just follow the direction of the growth of the petal. So this one is kind of comes up and curves down. Some of these are just going to go straight. This one will curve up a little bit like that. And then I'll do the same thing as I did before and kind of add some veining details. And the veins on the poinsettia don't have to match up. They're pretty close, but some of them don't. Or they're not always like directly side to side, so you can kind of stagger them a little bit. Don't have to worry too much about that. Oops, that one's way too big. Adding these purple veins. Just try to keep it on, go from the center line out. And I find that if I pull from the outside and lift, I can get a finer line on it than if I tried to go this way and end. It just gives me a better target to start from, and then I can kind of pull it a little more quickly if I put the tip of the brush where I want it to start and then just kind of lift and flick out. I can work a little faster than if I'm trying to pull and stop. And then I'll get a finer line on I get a finer line at the end as well, doing it that way. Okay, let me switch now to my number 2 bright. And we'll start putting in our highlight colors. So grab some white, mix that with the Naphthol Crimson. And then let's do the same thing with our cadmium red light, or cadmium red medium. Maybe mix a little bit of the cadmium red light. Let's get a little bit of this unbleached titanium with that one. Mix a few different versions of our highlight colors. Let's grab some quinacridone magenta and some white. And you need a lot more white than quinacridone magenta because it's very, very strong tint strength. Okay. That'll give us some good colors to start with. So let's start with the cadmium red light, or cadmium red medium color. And I'm going to do kind of like what we did on the leaves. I'm going to pull from the outside in, kind of tap a little bit as I do. Sort of go in between the purple lines that we did. See that? And what I really did is just kind of picked a few petals. The ones at the center, I kind of went a little bit more pink, and the ones on the outer areas, I kind of went a little bit deeper red, and a little bit more orange-ish. So that was just kind of the reference photo that I was working with. So super chat. Moo.
Yes, moo. This is a 10-pound donation,
Ooh.
I'm guessing,
Wow.
from Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you so much.
She must be from England.
I'm
Or
going to say
Britain,
so.
somewhere
I
in
think,
that area.
I think she said earlier UK, but
UK. Yeah, I should say UK. Because, yeah, that covers everything. Of course, U.S. folks were so bad about knowing our little geography. So I had to look it up when I did my Downton Abbey tutorial, because I had said something about Scotland and England, and boy, that was not. They're not the same. I know that, but, I know they're in the same general area, so I kind of lumped it all together. Not good. Okay. So I'm going back in with a little bit of the darker color here. This is the Naphthol Crimson. And just kind of tapping in between and kind of blending those two colors together just a little bit. Let's do this one right here.
yes, Lee has confirmed that it is UK now.
UK. Okay.
Said that usually in South Africa, but in UK right now.
Oh, okay. All right, grabbing the cadmium red, medium. I'm not going all the way down into this dark areas. I want to keep some of those a little bit dark, so not to go too far down into my stem. Let's grab some of the cadmium red light highlights on this one. That's pretty. And pulling from the outside in. There we go. Maybe put a little bit of this color on this side too. Right, just kind of trying to shape these out a little bit. Grab the cadmium red light, or cadmium red, and some of the lighter highlight colors on here. I don't even really know what colors on my brush anymore. They're all kind of mixed together, but that's okay. Let's go with some of that Naphthol Crimson down in here in this darker area. Let's see. Okay. Get back to the start. I keep turning it around. I'm going to grab my quinacridone magenta and I'm going to redefine these lines a little bit. Some of that darker pink. I need to let that dry. It's not dry enough. Not ready for me to do that yet. Okay, let's grab the pink then. We'll do some of these. We'll do this one with some pink. The pink is going to look really weird at first, so just kind of, it's going to be really bright against these dark colors. I'm going to outline it, kind of tap it around, and then I'm going to sort of tap in towards the center. I didn't put veins in this one, so I'm just going to have to kind of fudge them. we'll tone this down, but we're just gonna, we want the real bright color at first because otherwise it won't show up against these darker colors, and when we shadow it, it'll just kind of disappear altogether. So kind of have to start out kind of brighter than we think we need here with these pink ones. Let's do some pink on this one too. Tapping toward the center. I got some of the more orangey color here on this one. This side. There we go. Grab a little bit of that quinacridone magenta, a little bit of white. Really brighten up this outer highlight here. There we go. Define that edge a little bit better. Do this one. The inner petals will be kind of overlapping these outer ones, so just kind of keep that in mind when you're putting these in. You're going to want to really define these and outline them over the top of these outer petals so that they come forward for us. So that's looking pretty good. Grab a little bit of that cadmium red light mixture. Do this farther one. Maybe do this one kind of more from the center out. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with the purple. Maybe grab a little bit of that phthalo blue. And I'm going to define this center a little bit better. I'm going to go around these berries a little bit. Make sure that area in between these petals kind of come in and narrow to a fine point. So they have these kind of lines that come in to the center. They don't come in very thick in the center here. So I'm going to kind of make these ends a little bit skinnier where they're meeting the center berry, just to define them a little bit better. There we go. See how I did that? Outline these ones just a little bit if it needs it. And then I'm going to mix my phthalo blue and phthalo green together and make a teal. I'm going to use this color to shadow my leaves. So I'm going to get right up next to the center there and kind of water down my paint. And I have it mostly on one side. And that's the side I'm going to put up against the flower petals there. And then I can kind of go in between too if I want to define out those shadows on the other parts of the leaf too. See that? Go a little bit more with the green than the teal. A little bit brighter. We're just going for a dark color. We just want to shadow right where it's meeting up with the flower, and that way it'll make it look nice and push it farther back visually. Make it look overlapped. If you want to keep it watery so you're not covering up all of your lines, you still want to be able to see those lines through the paint, so you don't want this too solid of a color. You want it just watered down enough to be able to see through to your white veining that you put in before. There we go. I'm going to grab some yellow and just a teeny tiny bit of that green. I actually want to switch to my angle brush again, I think. Yellow. Let's get some of that quinacridone, or some of the unbleached titanium there. Make a light yellow green color. There we go. I'm going to use this to define our berries a little bit better. So I'm going to kind of just pick a side and sort of highlight those sides of it. Leave one side a little bit darker than the other. There we go. And then I'm going to grab the white with the tip of the brush and add a little white highlight to the top of these. Just tapping in with that little tip of the brush to brighten that up. Might add a little bit of suggestion of some other ones in here. Okay, and then if you need to, you can go back in with your dark green and define one side of these, or in between them, to kind of separate them out a little bit more. The tip of the brush. And I'm going to use quinacridone magenta on the very tip. And just add a little touch of quinacridone in, just a few of them right next to that white dot. There we go. They have these little pods that kind of open up. I think this is actually the flower part, and these are considered leaves around the, if I'm not mistaken. So that center part has these little teeny tiny flowers that open up on them.
Yes, I think that is true. I think somebody in chat said that all of the other ones are leaves.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
They had a name for it, but I can't remember what it was. Okay, I'm going to grab the quinacridone magenta now, and I'm going to
shadow, just like we did on our leaves. I'm going to shadow these petals, these pink ones. Push back that
Okay, they said
color a little bit.
they're called bracts.
Bracts. Interesting.
Bracts.
Bracts.
So not only was it on the internets, but it was on a chat on a YouTube video. So it might be true, it might be not. We'll see.
Pretty sure it's true. Yeah, I was told that the blue poppy that I did last week was definitely not a poppy. It was an anemone. So more than one person. Chat comments are usually very helpful that way. People will catch it. If I say anything that's not correct, they'll.
So I'll go back and re-edit.
It's okay. I'm leaving
the
it.
audio.
And I'm leaving it because.
And every time you say poppy, I'll cut it out. My voice will be go, anemone. It'll be very natural sounding. You'll never know.
I like that idea. If only you could. I think there's several videos that I would go back and edit that way if you could. Okay. Maybe not with your voiceover, but mine,
What?
You get the idea. All right, going back in with the red now. Over the top of some of these and kind of pushing back that highlight on a few of these. Add a little water there so it's a little bit more thinned down. This is the Naphthol Crimson here. Go over these more reddish leaves with that. Maybe put a little bit of it in my pink flowers too. And then get a really bright whitish mixture with the Naphthol Crimson and white here. And we'll add back in some of our highlight. Again, it's all about layers. And really, at any point that you are happy with it, you can stop. You don't have to go back in and do this. This is just kind of what I like to do, is layer on a little bit of color, cover it up, go back in with some more of the bright color, cover that up, just go back and forth with these layers. That's what gives the paintings that extra kind of special depth, the look that I like. So, but you can definitely kind of stop at any point where you're happy with the results. Don't have to keep going. And if I was doing this with the beginner class, I would definitely have stopped already. I would have just done the first layer of highlights and then maybe not even shadowed them back down, but just kind of did the highlights and then stopped. So and the acrylics do dry a little bit darker, especially these heavy body acrylics. So you may have to go back in, let it dry completely, and then notice that you have to go back in and adjust your colors because they've darkened up more than you wanted them to. You add a little bit of that pink to this outside one. Going in here with the quinacridone magenta and that white mixture. I'm going to put in really bright highlights along the outside edges of some of these. That'll make them pop forward away from the background a little bit more. And just pulling out from that line in to kind of smooth it out so it doesn't look like it's outlined. Blend that in just a little bit. Okay, we're almost done. We're getting there. We need to add a couple more little tiny bitty petals. So I'm going to use my cadmium red medium, I think, and just put in, let's do one right here. And use the highlight. Super chat.
Super chat from
Awesome.
Lady Fair.
Thank you, lady.
And she says, thank you, Angela and Mark, for all you do.
Oh,
No, thank you. Thank you for your support. We really appreciate it.
we do. Really do. This is fun. We enjoy this. I so love getting to do this and sharing this with everybody and sharing what I'm passionate about. And I just love that there's so many other people that connect with it too and enjoy it. I've said it before. I don't have any my real friends here in town. None of them like to do art, so I've been doing this on my own for a long time. So it's so fun to get to connect with folks that enjoy it as much as I do. It's wonderful.
We'll clarify real friends. Just
Well,
like
real friend in real life, like our
people that
IRL,
we know
in
physically
can see.
see.
Physical proximity. That's what I meant. Sorry, thank you.
We consider everybody, all our
Oh,
followers.
absolutely.
Even though I think some of them are unusual. They're still all right.
Still all right?
Yeah. We'll keep them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've met the most wonderful people online. It's been amazing. Made some great friendships. Okay, I'm making a mess of this color. I don't know why I tried to. I'm talking and not explaining what I'm doing here. Sorry, guys. All right. Just kind of cleaning up. Went back and added a little bit of that purple around on some of these just to kind of darken it up. Petals weren't going on bright enough, so I have to get a little bit more of that quinacridone magenta so that it's a little bit brighter. Okay, so there. Let's do one over here. Get a little white and outline it. Paint getting sticky. There we go. And let's do another one right here. little bitty one. Okay, then I'm going to go back in here, and I feel like I can outline them just slightly, just to make them stand out a little bit better. Just be careful with this because you don't want it to look like it's cartoon, but it'll help to kind of separate it out from the ones underneath if we just outline it just slightly. Make it pop out a little bit more for us. Getting that purple there. And I really could have done this with the other petals, but it's just easier to put this on afterwards than to try to have to paint around it. These little bitty ones, you know, because they're so tiny. So it's just easier to put it on later. Get some quinacridone magenta here. And just shadow that whole one that's kind of behind it. There we go. Do a little bit of shadowing on this one too. Okay, let me grab the yellow oxide. I didn't add any of this yet. And I mixed it with a little bit of white, and I added it on my poinsettias on just a few of the outer petals, just going to add another color, a little bit of a yellow tone, mostly on the ones that are the more warmer petals, so I didn't do it on my pink ones, just on a few of these that are out toward the outside edge there. Go in with it. Let me spray my paints, they're getting sticky. Grab a little bit more of that Naphthol Crimson. I'm gonna fill in this one. A little bit of that color. Then I can use it thin down to go back over and sort of set those highlights back in with just a little bit of a wash, just like we did the first time. Just kind of makes that highlight kind of merge with the rest of the flower, make it not look like it's sitting on top so much. A little bit more white here. I'm gonna go in with some wash of white. It's mixed with that red, so it's not completely white, and I'm just gonna put in just a little bit of brightness back in on just a few of these. Here again, like I said, I'm just kind of fiddling with it at this point, just sort of adjusting where I feel like it could use a little bit of brightness. do the same thing with the pink over here. Grab some white and pink and really define that little small petal there.
You have made this pretty easy for me today because you're staying in camera and
Yeah, the smaller canvas is pretty hard to get it off camera.
making the camera guy look good.
Huh?
Then you're making the camera guy look good.
Okay.
Like he's professional, know what he's doing.
Right. Yeah, you've kind of hadn't had to do a whole lot today, have you?
No, and side
okay.
cam is just sitting over here all kind of
By itself?
lonesome.
You're not using it today?
Well, you have it kind of angled away. So
Oh, it's not working.
no. But it's okay.
It'll be back.
Every camera has their day.
Going back in here with the purple and just kind of redefining a few of those center branches in our center, what are those veins? Thank you. Okay, and we're going to go back in with the cadmium red, full-on cadmium red here, and just brighten up. Just a few of these petals. Especially if they start to look a little bit dull. Give it a little pop of bright red. Get some white here. There we go. That one's kind of disappearing against the other ones. Anywhere where your petal is just not showing up against the one behind it and you're losing that dimensionality, you just have to add, like right here, these two are kind of merging right there. So I can either decide to go darker behind it or lighter on top. I'm going to go ahead and go lighter right there, and that pops it forward. So that's what I'm looking at now, just kind of to see if there's any areas where petals are disappearing. Maybe this one right here. It doesn't take much, just a little tiny bit of color along the edge. Like this one right here, I think needs it. So let's get a little bit of that pink. Quinacridone white. Give it a little outline. Okay, liking it.
Yeah, so how many layers are on these petals?
A lot.
I was gonna say.
A lot. Like I said, though, I mean, you can make it, you can simplify it. You could have stopped a long time ago. I'm just kind of, you know, since it's small and I got the time, I'm just kind of fiddling with it, adding lots of layers. Might add a little highlight to some of the stems as they come down in here. So just maybe on either side of a couple of them. This one here could use it, I think. There we go. Good. Okay, I think one more layer of like the yellow on some of the green leaves. So I'm just going to use cadmium yellow and see what that looks like. Yeah, because it's covering over those darker colors. It'll really be vibrant against the there we go. Just a little bit, and it's kind of watered down, so it's not full strength, because cadmium yellow is an opaque color, so you don't want to cover over everything. You just kind of want to add a tint of this bright yellow. Oh, that's pretty. That really pulled those forward. You can add a little bit of yellow to these berries too, maybe. Just a little bit. Again, I'm going to take the quinacridone magenta and do one more kind of pass with that to shadow, tone down. Let's put it underneath this one. This poinsettia I'm doing had a lot of pink in it, but if you wanted to do, you know, more just reds, you could leave off the quinacridone and do these middle petals with the reds and instead, you know, and I would probably use more of the orangey red than I did. I didn't use a lot of the cadmium red light, but that would be a good one to use instead of the quinacridone magenta, and kind of use it in all the same places that I use the quinacridone magenta if you wanted to go with a more of an orangey colored poinsettia.
Tricia asked about using like iridescence. Would that help?
Yeah,
make
absolutely. And I actually added a little tiny bit of gold to the center of my ornament one. We've got our 100,000 subscriber show. Hopefully we'll hit 100,000 subscribers sometime in December soon. So hopefully you guys will help us with that by sharing our videos and you know, passing it along on your social media and that kind of thing. There's a little share arrow just underneath each of the videos, and if you click on that, it'll let you share it, you know, on Pinterest and Facebook and all your other good social media places. But we're going to give away the little ornament here that I did for the 100,000 show, so be sure to check back for that. It'll probably be, I don't know, we'll see. I'm not sure. We'll announce it, but this will be one of the things that I give away for the 100,000 subscribers. A thank you. That's
Oh my.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe we'll do another ornament or two before then as well. So this one's going to the gallery in Little Rock. Plus it's a little heavier, harder to ship. I think this one will be pretty good, pretty easy to ship. Okay, I think we're done.
No,
There's our two.
We need to do Stickman.
Oh, Stickman.
Yeah,
Stickman.
people have been asking in chat.
Okay. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think Mark's been asking in chat.
I mean, there's a few hundred people watching, and more than half of them came in just to see Stickman.
Okay. Okay. And let's give him a poinsettia. He's got his terrible angel wings there. He's got a blue poppy there. last week. Let's put the poinsettia on the roof of the barn.
Okay, I definitely need to get off my butt and do a new one.
Yep, it's definitely time.
So Stickman's our mascot. This is Stickman 3.0, I believe.
I think so.
And it's what I do best. And then Angela adds something in the theme of the show.
Yes.
Most of the times. Sometimes we don't get to it, but we try to do it every show.
Try to.
Just to show how serious art can be sometimes.
Have a little fun. All right, there's a little poinsettia on the top of our barn. He's decorating and all up for Christmas, getting ready.
Pulling up the lights.
That's right. All right, so thanks guys so much for watching today. If you are part of my Patreon, folks that are the $5 and up subscribers, we are having a show tomorrow as well, so be sure to check back in. We're going to be doing a Santa portrait tomorrow, so the link for that is down in my Patreon, on my Patreon page, and I'll be sending out an email with the link as well. So anyhow, and then we'll be back on Tuesday night. Next week is Thanksgiving week here in the U.S., so we will be on Tuesday, but Thursday we're going to have a recording that I did last couple months ago of the fantasy deer with the tree branch antlers. Or I'm sorry, Saturday, next Saturday. Yeah, because we're going to have family and stuff. So that'll be next week's schedule. All right. I don't know what we're doing Tuesday night yet. It'll be something good. Hopefully easy, short. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.